Welcome back to Write It, Fix It, Make It, RFM for short. Today we are finishing the right hand side of the engine build, and there's a reason why I'm going this far into depth with it. Today I'm building the motor for a long distance trip from South Wales all the way down to the north of Italy. This engine isn't just being built to look pretty in the workshop, it's going to be sat steady revs for hours, fully loaded in the real world conditions, putting it up to the ultimate test. So everything I do here is about maximum reliability. I'm starting with the case bolts I installed previously, and a few of the originals were way past the best. Damaged heads, tied threads, you know what the deal is. So they've all been swapped out for all new fresh ones. When the cases first went together, they were actually way too hot to properly close, so I had to let everything cool down anyway while I wait for the new hardware. Remember, no sealant is meant to be used, just clean flat case faces and the correct torque setting. I'm working in a crisscross pattern across the cases so everything pulls down evenly and we don't have any distortion. I'm using a digital torque wrench, not for show, but for repeatability. If a bolt backs out or a case warps because you went by feel, you don't just get a weep in the workshop. That's the kind of thing that's going to ruin your trip. Once I'm happy the cases are settled and taut, we can move on to the water pump. The cooling system is going to have a hard life on a run like this from Wales to Italy. It's going to have long motorway sections, hot days, slow climbs, traffic, all the stuff that all engines hate, especially two strokes. So I'm not taking any chances with it. I'll strip the pump right down, check the shaft and housing for wear, and I'll fit new seals and O-rings. Everything that does look even slightly suspect will not go back in. When it all goes back together, I want the impeller to spin nice and freely with no tight spots and no play. A tiny coolant weep at home is just annoying. But you imagine a coolant leak in the middle of nowhere. That can be very quickly turned into a cooked engine and a phone call to recovery. With the pump built and bolted in, I refitted it and started doing the timing and drive gears. The timing gears transfer the drive to the balance shaft. The balance shaft evens out some of the vibration the engine makes. These are new red plastic gears being fitted. When you're installing them, you need to warm them up. This will help make the plastic more malleable for fitting. They are slightly tight when they go on. It's paramount that these timing gears are set correctly. Getting this right now reduces vibration and possible wear and bolts coming out later. Exactly what you want when the bike is droning down the motorway for hours upon end, eating up the miles. Next up is one of the most important jobs for this trip, the clutch. The old clutch that came out, the friction plates seem to be well within spec. However, the actual metal discs had some scoring. I did not want to trust it on this trip, so I changed it. The clutch was going in this is a Mitaka brand one. Apparently they were rated higher than the actual OEM ones. Before everything goes in, every friction plate gets soaked in oil beforehand. That helps on the first startup and reduces the chance of glazing and keeps the engagement smooth. Here I'm working through the clutch pack, oiling each friction plate and steel plate before it goes anywhere near the engine. Rotax are very clear about how this clutch pack goes together. Clean parts in stacking order and the right torque on every single bolt. I'm trying to give this clutch the best possible start in life, and this begins at this stage here. Then I'm adding a light film of gear oil, the same stuff that the engine will be running on inside the gearbox. I'm not trying to drown them, I'm just making them wet so they're not any dry spots for when the clutch bites for the first time. Rotax manual says go on about proper assembly, correct sequences and steel plates, making sure the thicker plate sits where they should, and tightening the clutch and to the right torque. If you ignore that, you'll end up with drag, slip and a horrible inconsistent lever. The oil I'm putting on here works with that. It lets the pack bed in smoothly instead of grabbing or glazing it straight away. Each friction plate gets the same treatment, both sides nice and even. Then the steel gets a quick wipe of oil as well, so they don't go dry either, or even left without. It's a small job, but the engine really does need this, and once buttoned up and you run it dry, the clutch should be actually no good. All of this because the motor isn't just for a quick Sunday blast, it's being built with a proper trip in mind. So one of the big goals that I'm planning to do, as I said a couple of times so far, is from South Wales and all the way to Italy, the Stelvio Pass on the Italy and Swiss border. If you don't know Stelvio Pass, it is one of those proper bucket list roads. Around 48 hairpins on a classic side gradient, tight switchbacks and an altitude of about 2,500 meters above sea level. So the last thing I want is for my clutch to actually fail while doing this route. It's essential that I'll follow what Rotax says about how to assemble this to the T, and that way I know it's done correctly. I need reliability at the end of the day. One little trick I've learned is to loosely assemble the clutch assembly, then to install everything onto the output shaft going into the gearbox. Once it's there, it's easier to hold and you can do the nuts up gradually but not all at the same time. This keeps the tension even while you're doing it up. Once they're all as far as you can get without overdoing it, you can torque them all up to the right specification and that's job done. You can rely on this clutch assembly being as complete then. I installed the clutch basket and the assembly into the engine and torqued it up to specification. And again, no guessing, just the torque wrench. You need to have this set to the right specification. Now the clutch is set correctly, this should eliminate any snatchy feelings and you should have a nice progressive feel at the lever. A little extra care here means the clutch will happily cope with plenty of raw Ital kit power over the long trip. With the clutch, timing gear and water pump sorted, I can finally close this side up of the engine. Before closing the side up completely, ensure the gear selector has a washer over it. This stops the sideway movement on there. Then a fresh gasket onto the mating surfaces. You should never try to reuse a gasket for anything on one of these engines. Last thing you want is an oil leak. To avoid that, new gasket, couple of quid here, saves a day. I offer up the side of the cover and I nip all the bolts up by hand, then work around with the torque wrench in a sensible pattern to bring everything down into spec. It's a good idea to do opposites if you can. And that's the right hand side of the engine all wrapped up. The next video will be completing the top end, installing the piston and setting the squish. If you haven't done already, please subscribe, like and comment on the comments. Take care.